Hi, everyone and all. I am Rifat Nadeem here again. And listen, just recently I did a video on the topic of abilities, that abilities exist right now. But I thought, why not follow it up with one more video, which is about just four incidents that I'm going to share with you briefly. And then I am going to ask you one question at the end of this video about those four incidents, which are focused on the point of abilities and possibilities. They exist right now. That is the whole subject matter. But those four incidents are the ones that I want to share with you today. Anyway, getting on with this talk, let's come to the first point, the first incident. And that first incident is, once again, let's start off with the incident of Roger Bannister, the amazing miracle that Roger Bannister achieved in 1954 by completing 1 mile in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. And this was something that had happened in the first time ever in the history of humanity, or to be precise, I should say, in the history of sports, in the history of Olympics, or in the history of sports which are all about running. Roger Bannister was the first ever person who completed 1 mile in a time span that was less than 4 minutes. And this achievement was considered almost impossible until Roger Bannister did it. And that is what happens in the history of humanity. We keep thinking that something is impossible or too difficult and nobody can do it, and then someone comes along, someone like Roger Bannister, does that, achieves that success, and then everyone else starts achieving the same success. Isn't it surprising? We should ponder over such successes, especially the ones about which we think uh, previously we saw, about which we think that they were impossible or they were just nobody could do them, and then suddenly one person establishes an example, and then people just keep doing that thing. People just start achieving that success in almost in a heartbeat, not in a heartbeat, but rather simply. We should ponder over such examples to learn from them that the possibility of that success was always there, because that human ability was always there. Now, my question for you regarding this incident is, you tell me, what was so different physically about the athletes who started completing this 1 mile in less than 4 minutes time after Roger Bannister? What was different about those athletes, physically especially, and also in terms of their food, their training, their coaching, the tracks, the distance of 1 mile? What was so different? Obviously, there was nothing different. There was nothing that could have made those athletes run 1 mile in a time span that was less than 4 minutes. But there was only one thing different, and that was awareness. Physically, the athletes were the same in terms of their energy level or in terms of their skill, the skill to run very fast. Everything was the same except just one thing, and that one thing was the awareness that happens here. That happened here for those athletes who started achieving that success immediately after Roger Bannister's success. And I have heard that today, that sort of challenge of completing 1 mile in less than 4 minutes time, it is it is almost in nothing. It has become so simple for such athletes to run that kind of a distance in a very short span of time. Now they have started to sort of reduce that time span way below 4 minutes. But at one time, it was considered impossible. The second incident that I want to share with you, just quickly and briefly, that is of Jahangir Khan. This is the man who is internationally very well known. He was a squash player, a champion. He won many squash matches consecutively. I think hundreds of matches he won consecutively at the international level. He won the World Cup of squash many times. But the important thing that I want to share with you about him in this talk is, when he was about 12 years of age or maybe 13 years of age, doctors, they performed a surgery on him of his hernia. He went through that surgery perhaps 2 times or 3 times. And the important thing is the doctors told him to sort of take rest and not do anything that involved physical agility or physical strength. But Jahangir Khan had other plans. He went ahead. He was passionate about squash. He was inspired. He was committed. He was honest about this whole liking for squash, and he just could not sit back. He went ahead. He trained hard, and he became a professional squash player, not just at the level of some local club or nationally, rather internationally. And he beat the world champions of the time at that time. That is the second example. And when we talk about this example, what do you think was so special about Jahangir Khan that made him achieve that success against all the advice by doctors? I'm not asking you to ignore doctors' advice, but this is just an example which, once again, not just inspires us, but also makes us think and ponder over those successes which have been achieved by human beings before us. And those examples, they tell us again and again that possibilities to succeed, they exist right now, that human abilities are absolutely unlimited and fertile, and we can achieve almost anything, virtually anything that we would like to achieve. What matters is our consistency and commitment. By the way, I cannot give you the exact coordinates of possibilities and abilities right now, but I can tell you this, that possibilities, they do exist now somewhere, that human abilities, even if you think that they do not exist inside of us, they do exist somewhere. This is the reason that whenever comes along, works hard enough, smart enough, with commitment, with consistency, at the right time, the right way, they achieve the desired results. Even if they are achieving that success or that achievement for the first time ever in the history of humanity, even if they have no formula before them, even if they have no example of others' success in the same field, like Roger Bannister, the way he did that achievement, the way he achieved that achievement of completing 1 mile in less than 4 minutes' time. The third incident that I want to share with you is that of Mount Everest. By the way, I often talk about Mount Everest. Mount Everest is just a metaphor, okay? You can take Mount Everest. Whenever I talk about it, for the most part, it is a metaphor for our challenges, targets, goals, ambitions that we think are either impossible or very, very difficult. In terms of Mount Everest, I have read some very interesting information about the people who have conquered Mount Everest so far. Especially, there are three kinds of people, by the way, conquering Mount Everest itself, whether you are physically totally a normal person or not, that is a huge achievement. I'm not taking anything away from the people who are physically normal people in terms of their limbs, but right now, I want to talk about those people who were either too young or too old, or they were physically not really normal people, in the sense that some of their limbs were damaged. Okay, for instance, first of all, I would like to mention this name. I think Hari Buddha Magar. Someone, I hope I'm not mispronouncing the name too much. But the point is that this person recently, he is the first ever person in the history of humanity who is an above the knee double amputee, and he conquered Mount Everest with two artificial legs. That is amazing. And I listened to his video message. I watched his video message, and that message is amazing, inspiring. He says that one step at a time, and you can conquer Mount Everest. One step at a time, and you can conquer Mount Everest. That is amazing. And then I also read that the youngest person in the history of humanity who conquered Mount Everest, he was a boy who was 13 years old. I'm forgetting his name. If I mention his name, I might mispronounce it terribly. So no need to mention the name. But there is this boy who was 13 years of age, and he conquered Mount Everest. And then there was this man who was 80 years of age who conquered Mount Everest. He was 75 years of age. He conquered Mount Everest. He was 70 years of age. He conquered Mount Everest. So from 13 years of age, between these two ranges, from 13 years to 80 years, this means, in a way, anyone can conquer Mount Everest, because all these people between these two age ranges, they have done so. I'm not asking you to go out and conquer Mount Everest, but I am definitely trying to impress upon you that possibilities do exist right now. What happens is, for the most part, we keep waiting for others to first do this thing, a new thing, and then we might follow it. But the question is, how many times have we done something that others have already done, but we do not do it because of certain fears, our belief system, because of procrastination, and many other reasons, especially at the level of our psychology. Psychologically, we have certain hurdles and barriers in our minds, and then in the form of fear and doubt and questions, and then we do not do those things. Okay, I mean, if we claim that this is something that we would love to do, but we would love someone else first to do that thing, but then there are so many things in the world that have already been done and still we do not do those things. This means we are always looking for lame excuses not to do things that demand some courage and that demand some real metal from us. Okay, and the fourth incident that I want to share with you, that is not just an incident, it is basically a quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer's book. And that quote says that when we start swimming, what is the difference between our two bodies when we did not know how to swim and when we start swimming? What is the difference between us when we did not know how to swim and when we started swimming? This is an interesting question. This is an interesting idea, basically. And it made me think a lot. And I think I have learned a lot about possibilities and abilities because of this example or question as well. Okay, now these two situations, of course, there is a difference of awareness, there is a difference of skill level, all those differences are there. But the point is, physically, what is the difference? This means physically we are the same when we did not know how to swim, and physically we are the same when we started swimming. And this is the idea that you can apply anywhere else in any other walk of life. Okay, it is not just limited to swimming. And by the way, I am not undermining the importance of our body. Our body is a great gift from the Creator. It is a huge gift. It is a great blessing. Physical strength is extremely very important. But when we talk about human abilities, when we talk about the presence of possibilities all around us, we must keep in mind that if we keep looking for excuses, they are just lame excuses. Anyway, coming to the question that I wanted to ask you on the basis of these four incidents, by the way, I have already answered that question. What do you think? What do you think? Where do human abilities exist? What do you think about human abilities? Do they really exist now? What do you think about possibilities? Do they exist right now? Answer the question. You can answer that question in the comment section. I would love to hear from you and hope to see you soon again. Thank you very much.